The planet was dead. No wind moved across the gray surface. No green life, no rivers, no clouds in the sky. Only endless stone plains and the broken skeletons of mountains. To most eyes, this world looked useless, a forgotten piece of rock that circled a fading star. Yet beneath its surface, something waited, something vast, something ancient. The discovery came by accident. A coalition of alien explorers had been scanning the outer edges of the Orion Arm. They were searching for rare minerals, lost colonies, or ruins of older civilizations. At first, their instruments showed nothing unusual. Then strange energy signatures appeared from deep underground. The readings were faint, almost like echoes, but they repeated in perfect patterns. Curious, the coalition sent down ships. They included members of many species: tall, feathered Avrians with golden eyes, scaled Hressians with claws made for digging, and the thin, pale Thren, who were experts in reading energy signals. Together they began to dig. It took weeks, but at last the ground opened and the machine was revealed. It was larger than any city. Miles of curved walls stretched beneath the earth, shining with a faint metallic glow. Strange carvings covered every surface, spirals and shapes that seemed alive, moving slowly as if the metal itself breathed. The machine had no single form. Parts looked like towers, others like buried ships, and others like smooth domes. It was not a structure made for simple eyes. It was art, science, and power joined into one. The aliens were astonished. They knew at once this was not a natural object. Someone had built it long ago. Perhaps it was a relic of the first builders, a legendary race said to have vanished before most species even left their homeworlds. The Avrians wanted to study the carvings. The Thren tried to measure the energy flow. The Hressians argued to break into the deepest chambers, but no matter what they did, the machine did not respond. When they touched the walls, nothing happened. When they sent electric pulses, the carvings remained silent. When they tried to melt the metal, their strongest beams only left faint scratches. Frustration grew. Weeks turned to months. The coalition began to argue among themselves. Some wanted to leave, to declare it an unsolvable mystery. Others demanded more force, even dangerous experiments. Then the humans arrived. Their ship was small compared to the alien cruisers. It was a research vessel, carrying only a dozen scientists and explorers. They had come late after hearing rumors of the discovery. Many aliens mocked their arrival. Humanity was still considered a young race in the stars. They had only recently joined the interstellar community. What could they possibly offer here, at a site so far beyond their knowledge? Commander Alara Trent led the human team. She was calm with sharp gray eyes and a voice steady even under pressure. She greeted the coalition politely, but she felt the weight of their doubt. Humans were often treated as children among the elder races, clever but untested. Still, Alara believed in the value of being curious. She and her team requested permission to study the carvings. Some aliens laughed, but others allowed it, if only to prove that humans would fail like the rest. The first day, Alara walked along the walls, her gloved hand tracing the strange symbols. They seemed oddly familiar to her. The spirals reminded her of ancient Earth scripts, the kind carved into stone circles or drawn by forgotten tribes. She wondered if it was only coincidence. Her second-in-command, Dr. Malik, suggested they try direct contact. Alara agreed. She removed her glove and placed her bare hand against the carvings. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the wall shivered with light. Lines of blue fire raced across the carvings, flowing outwards like rivers waking from ice. The ground trembled softly. Towers that had been silent for millions of years began to hum. All around, the machine stirred. The aliens shouted in shock. Instruments beeped wildly, recording impossible energy surges. Avrian scientists nearly dropped their scanners. The Hressians unsheathed claws, half in fear. The Thren whispered in disbelief. The machine had ignored every alien touch. But for a human, it had awakened. Alara stepped back, her heart racing. The carving still glowed under her hand. She looked at the others. "I didn't do anything," she said softly. But she had done something. She had unlocked the first door. Over the next hours, more signs appeared. Pathways opened in the metal, sliding apart to reveal long corridors that had been sealed for ages. Lights flickered inside, forming arrows that pointed only when humans walked near. Control panels lit up when touched by human fingers, yet remained dark for the aliens. The coalition grew restless. Some were amazed. Others were suspicious. "This machine is bound to you," hissed a Thren scholar. It accepts your kind alone. Why? Alara had no answer. She only knew the truth. For some reason, this ancient machine recognized humanity. As the humans explored deeper, they discovered star maps engraved in glowing crystal. The maps showed galaxies, constellations, and routes of travel. Some were familiar. Others were unknown even to the elder races. In the center of every map was a symbol, one that matched carvings found in old human ruins on Earth. Dr. Malik whispered, "It's as if..." This place was made for us. The idea spread quickly. Aliens murmured in fear and awe. If the machine truly belonged to humanity, then the young species might hold a power greater than any empire. But Alara was not thinking of power. She was thinking of the mystery. Who built this? Why did it answer only to humans? And why had it been buried here sleeping in silence? That night, as she stood alone near the glowing walls, she felt the machine's hum beneath her feet. It almost seemed alive, waiting, listening. She wondered if it had been waiting for her kind for countless ages, across the rise and fall of empires, across the silence of a dead world. And in that silence, she asked herself the question that now burned in the mind of every alien who had witnessed the awakening. What would happen when humanity gave the machine its first true command? The awakening of the machine changed everything. In the first days, the alien coalition argued endlessly. Some saw the humans as keys, tools to open more secrets. Others feared what might happen if humanity gained full control. Meetings turned into shouting matches. Trust began to break apart. Commander Alara Trent felt the pressure. Every alien eye followed her and her team. Some looked with curiosity, others with suspicion. It was clear to her. The humans were no longer guests. They were the center of everything. The first attempts, Alara decided to move carefully. She allowed her scientists to explore the opened corridors but refused to activate deeper systems until they understood more. She told the coalition, "We cannot rush. We do not know if this machine is safe. We must study it slowly." But not everyone agreed. The Heresians, a proud warrior species, demanded speed. Their leader, General Korak, growled, "Machines of war are not meant to sleep. If it can fight, then let it fight. We must control it before others do." The Thren were more cunning. They suggested taking samples of human DNA to recreate the effect. "Why rely on living humans?" their scientist hissed. "If the machine accepts the shape of their code, then we will copy it." The Avrians were cautious, but they too wanted answers. Their historian Selra spread her wings in worry. What if the machine was not meant to be used? What if it is a warning left behind? We must not open doors that should stay closed. Despite these arguments, the coalition attempted their own tests. The Thren grew human cells in their labs and tried to press them against the glowing carvings. The machine stayed silent. They built artificial bodies shaped like humans, but when these androids touched the panels, nothing happened. The Heresians tried direct force. They dragged a control console out of the corridors and attempted to link their own systems into it. Sparks exploded. Their machines burned, and the ancient device repaired itself as if nothing had been touched. It was useless. The machine rejected everything that was not human, the human pathways. Meanwhile, Alara's team made progress. When humans touched certain walls, new paths opened. Doors slid aside, revealing more chambers. Inside were halls of crystal light, vast rooms of silent engines, and bridges that overlooked oceans of machinery stretching beyond sight. Dr. Malik discovered panels that projected maps when touched. Some showed the stars of the Orion Arm. Others showed networks of energy flowing between distant points. It was as if the machine was part of something larger, connected to places across the galaxy. Lieutenant Harris, another human on the team, found a chamber where the carvings changed shape when he walked near. They bent and shifted like they were alive, almost greeting him. When he raised his hand, the symbols formed into a pattern that resembled Earth's ancient stone circles. The aliens followed the humans everywhere, recording everything, but they could only watch. None of the wonders opened for them. This created tension. More than once, alien groups blocked the humans, demanding answers. General Korak even tried to force his way into a human-led chamber, but the moment he raised his weapon, the machine itself reacted. Walls shifted, forming barriers of glowing light that trapped him until he backed down. The message was clear. The machine would protect its chosen operators. Divided coalition soon, the coalition split into factions. One side, led by the Avrians and a few smaller races, supported the humans. They argued that the discovery belonged to whoever could use it, and clearly, only humanity could. Selra the historian said, "If this is their inheritance, then we must accept it. Perhaps we should guide them, not fight them." The other side, led by the Hressians and the Thren, opposed the idea. They whispered that if humanity alone controlled the machine, the balance of power in the galaxy would be broken. The young species would rise too quickly. The Hressians especially hated the thought of being ruled by those they had once called children. Elara saw this division growing. She knew that open conflict might soon break out. She gathered her team in a secure chamber inside the machine. "This is no longer just about discovery," she said. "It is about survival. If we lose control, we may never see Earth again. But if we play this carefully, we may learn why this machine exists. That is more important than any empire's fear." Her team agreed. They would continue unlocking the machine's secrets, but only step by step. The visions as the humans touched more panels, the machine began to respond in stranger ways. Sometimes, when Elara placed her hand on the carvings, images appeared in her mind. She saw vast cities under alien skies, towers of silver and glass, ships larger than mountains flying between stars. Other times, she saw war. Dark shapes moving through space, consuming worlds. Beams of light tearing across skies. Civilizations burning. Each vision left her shaken. She wondered if they were memories, records left by those who built the machine. Dr. Malik experienced the same. He told her quietly, "These are warnings. Whoever made this machine fought an enemy unlike anything we know. And I think they lost." The thought spread fear through the human team. If the first builders had fallen, then what hope did humanity have? Yet at the same time, the visions gave them purpose. The machine was not only a relic, it was a message across time, waiting for humans to return. Growing desperation. The aliens outside grew more desperate. The Hressians demanded that humans be placed under guard, so they could not make choices alone. The Thren suggested removing the humans and forcing them to act under orders. Elara resisted. She knew that giving control to others would be dangerous. The machine did not trust aliens, and neither did she. One night, while the humans rested, a group of Thren scientists tried to sneak into the chambers. They carried devices designed to copy neural signals, hoping to steal human brain patterns. But as they crossed the threshold, the machine reacted again. Alarms of pure light echoed through the halls. The Thren were thrown back by unseen force, unharmed but humiliated. After that, the tension could no longer be hidden. A choice emerging days passed. Each discovery brought more conflict. Each chamber opened revealed new wonders and new dangers. The coalition no longer acted as one. Groups prepared for possible betrayal. In the center of it all stood Elara and her small team of humans. They had no army, no fleets, no power but the trust of the machine. Yet that trust was stronger than any weapon. One evening, as Elara studied the glowing walls alone, she heard a faint sound. It was not in her ears, but in her mind. A voice, deep and distant, spoke words she could not fully understand. But one meaning was clear. Only those of the first may command. Elara felt a chill. Was the machine calling humans the first? Could it be that the legends were true, that humanity was not the youngest race but the oldest? That long ago, before history began, humans had built wonders across the stars? If so, then the galaxy had lived in ignorance for eons. And now the truth was waking again. Elara stood there, her hand pressed against the warm carvings, knowing the struggle was only beginning. The aliens would not stop trying to take control. The machine would not stop waiting for commands, and humanity would soon face a choice: to use this power as others demanded, or to follow the path the first builders had left for them. The machine no longer slept. Its walls glowed softly day and night. Its hidden engines sent deep vibrations through the ground. Even from the surface, one could feel the hum in the stones beneath their boots. The dead planet no longer felt silent. It pulsed with secret life. But the awakening of the ancient structure brought more than wonder. It brought division, and every passing day, the fragile alliance of alien species drew closer to breaking apart. Fractures among the coalition. The alien coalition had been built on trust and cooperation. Yet trust was the first thing to vanish when the machine chose humanity. In the great command dome above the dig site, arguments grew sharper. The Avrians urged patience. The humans are the only ones who can open the machine, Selra the historian said again and again, her golden feathers shimmering with frustration. We must respect this truth, or we may lose everything. The Hressians refused to listen. General Korak's claws scraped the metal table as he shouted, "If humans alone can control it, then humans alone will hold power over the galaxy. Do you not see the danger? We cannot let a young race decide the fate of us all." The Thren added their whispers to the fire. Their thin bodies leaned together as they spoke, voices cold and calculating. The humans are not ready. They will make mistakes. We must take their knowledge and use it ourselves. The galaxy cannot wait for them to grow wise. The coalition was no longer a single group. It was now two sides glaring at one another across the chamber, and in the center stood the humans, silent, watching, knowing that every word spoken was about them. The human dilemma commander Alara Trent carried the weight of these tensions. Each time she walked through the alien halls, she felt the eyes on her back. Admiration, jealousy, fear, hatred. She knew that any wrong step could spark violence. In private, her team argued too. Dr. Malik wanted to continue opening new chambers. The faster we learn, the more control we gain. Knowledge is protection, Lieutenant Harris disagreed. The more we open, the more they want to take it from us. Every new discovery adds pressure. Maybe we should stop, at least for now. Alara listened, but her own mind was torn. She knew both arguments carried truth. Yet she also knew the machine would not remain silent forever. Already it whispered in her mind when she touched the glowing carvings. Images of battles, cities, and stars passed before her eyes. It was as if the machine was calling to her, urging her forward. Secrets in the walls one morning. Alara followed a new path that had opened during the night. She entered a chamber larger than any before, shaped like a vast dome. In the center was a pillar of crystal, shining with a soft white glow. When she placed her hand on the pillar, the chamber transformed. Light filled the dome, forming a map of the galaxy around her. She stood at its heart, surrounded by thousands of stars. Some stars glowed brighter, linked by silver lines. Others were dark, marked by shadows that spread outward like stains. Alara gasped softly. She understood this was not just a map of space. It was a history. The bright stars showed where the first builders had spread their influence. The dark stains showed where something had destroyed entire systems. Then came the vision. She saw beings of shadow, vast and terrible, moving through the stars like storms. They devoured worlds, leaving silence behind. And she saw fleets of shining ships shaped like the machine, fighting to hold them back. The vision ended, and Alara fell to her knees, shaking. The message was clear. The first builders had fought an enemy beyond imagination, and they had failed. When she told her team, silence filled the chamber. Dr. Malik's face was pale. If they could not stop such an enemy, what hope do we have? But Alara only clenched her fists. Perhaps they did not leave us this machine to repeat their failure. Perhaps they left it so that we could succeed where they could not. Whispers of betrayal, while humans searched for answers. Alien factions plotted. In a dark corner of the camp, Thren scientists spoke with Hressian soldiers. Their voices were low, but their plans were clear. They would not wait for humanity to reveal everything. They would take the humans by force, control them, and use their access to unlock the machine. General Korak agreed. The humans are too few. They cannot resist forever. When the time is right, we strike. Not all aliens supported this. The Avrians listened and grew uneasy. Selra secretly warned Alara of the whispers. You must be careful. Some no longer see you as allies. They see you only as keys to a door they want to open. Alara thanked her, but inside she felt a growing storm. She could sense betrayal was close. The machine protects, the breaking point came sooner than expected. Late one night, as Ilara and her team worked inside the crystal dome, a group of Ressian soldiers stormed in. Their weapons were drawn. Behind them came several Thren with strange devices strapped to their arms. "Step away from the pillar," General Korak ordered. His voice echoed with fury. "You will open it for us now." Ilara stood firm. "We do not understand its full power. If you force it open, you may destroy us all," Korak snarled. "Better destroyed than ruled by humans." The soldiers advanced. But before they could reach the humans, the machine itself reacted. The carvings across the dome blazed with sudden light. Beams of energy shot upward, forming barriers of glowing force between the soldiers and the humans. The Ressians fired, but their shots vanished against the barriers like rain on glass. The Thren tried to push forward, but invisible currents threw them back. The machine had chosen its side. It would not let the humans be harmed. The attackers were forced to retreat, humiliated and furious. But the damage was done. The fragile alliance had broken. The truth revealed. The next day, Ilara stood before the coalition. Her voice was steady, but her heart burned. "You saw what happened," she said. "This machine does not respond to threats or theft. It responds only to trust, only to humanity. You must understand, we did not choose this. But we will not be forced into slavery or silence. If we are to unlock this machine, it must be our decision, not yours." Some listened. The Avrians bowed their heads, agreeing with her words, but others turned away. The Ressians muttered about weakness. The Thren whispered of new plots. Ilara realized then that the galaxy itself would soon divide over this discovery. Humanity had been given a gift or a burden that no one else could share. And even worse, she now understood the purpose of the machine. It was not a weapon of conquest. It was a shield, a guardian built to defend against the ancient enemy of the first builders. That enemy might still exist. It might still be out there, waiting in the dark between stars. If so, then the galaxy was in greater danger than any alien admitted. A heavy choice. That night, Ilara returned to the crystal dome. She touched the pillar again, and once more the galaxy map appeared. But this time a single star glowed brighter than the rest, pulsing like a heartbeat. She realized it was a signal, waiting for her command. The voice returned in her mind, deep and ancient. "Only the first may awaken the guardians. Only the first may stand against the dark." Ilara closed her eyes. She finally understood. Humanity was not just another young race. They were the heirs of the first builders. The machine had waited for them across endless years because it believed they were meant to continue the fight. But was humanity ready? Were they strong enough to carry such a burden? Ilara did not know. Yet she knew the time for hesitation was ending. The aliens were plotting against them. The machine was calling to them. And somewhere beyond the stars, shadows might already be moving. The tensions had risen to their peak. Soon everything would break. And when it did, only humanity could give the order that would decide the fate of all. The air above the dead planet was thick with tension. The alien coalition was fractured. Trust between species had shattered like glass. For weeks, whispers had spread through the camps. Ressian soldiers and Thren scientists gathered in secrecy. Avrians watched quietly, unsure who to trust. The humans stood in the center of it all, guarded by the machine itself. But no defense could last forever. A rising conspiracy. The Ressians had been the most open in their hostility. General Korak spoke openly to his closest allies. "We cannot allow them to control it," he said. "This machine is a power no one species should own. If humans are to command it, they will decide our fate. We cannot allow that." The Thren, quiet but cunning, agreed. They had their own reasons. They wanted the knowledge stored within the machine for themselves. "If they awaken it, they will lead us into war," their chief scientist said softly. "We must act before they can decide." Together, the Ressians and Thren formed a secret plan. They would take control of the humans, force them to give the order. If humans resisted, they would destroy them. If that failed, they would seize the machine by force. It was a dangerous gamble. But both species knew they had no choice. The machine had changed everything. A false truce commander, Ilara, sensed the storm brewing. She had already felt the alien mistrust grow. The Avrians were quiet, hesitant to intervene. The Ressians had grown cold. Even some Thren avoided her gaze. Ilara called for a meeting in the Great Dome. Her voice was steady. "We need unity," she said. "If the machine is a weapon or shield, it is dangerous in the wrong hands. We must work together. The meeting seemed to calm the tension for a moment. Korak agreed to a truce. The Thren nodded quietly, but Alara knew it was fragile. She had seen too many betrayals in her lifetime to trust words alone. The betrayal came at night. The humans were in the crystal chamber, studying the map of the galaxy. Alara stood before the pillar, her hand resting lightly on the glowing surface. Around her team worked quietly. Outside, most of the alien guards slept. Without warning, the chamber erupted. Doors slammed shut. Energy barriers flickered into life, but not to protect the humans. Instead, alien soldiers poured in. Prescians and Thren with strange devices, shimmering weapons, and strange tools moved forward with precision. Alara Trent, General Korak's voice thundered through the dome. You will give us control of the machine. Now Alara stepped back. We do not yet know what it is for. We cannot give such power without understanding it. Korak snarled and gave the order to advance, but the machine reacted before they could touch her team. The walls glowed bright white. A deep sound like 1,000 voices echoed through the dome. Energy surged. The attackers were thrown back by force. Weapons stopped working near the humans. Soldiers stumbled as if invisible hands pushed them away. The machine was defending its chosen. The attack turned into chaos. Alien soldiers fired blindly. Light shields shimmered around the humans. The machine's corridors shifted, creating barriers that separated the humans from their attackers. Prescians yelled orders, but the more they fought, the more the machine resisted them. In the end, the aliens were forced to retreat. They vanished into the dark corridors, leaving behind injured comrades. The aftermath. The chamber was silent again, except for the hum of the machine. Humans stood together, breathing heavily. Ilara's hand was still on the glowing pillar, and the light seemed to flow into her. Why? Lieutenant Harris whispered. Why protect us? Alara looked around at her team. Because it chooses us, she said softly. It trusts us, and that makes us its protectors. But outside the dome, the truth was darker. The Prescians and Thren gathered in secret. Their anger deepened. They had tried to take control and failed. Now they saw the humans not as partners, but as enemies. The machine's message after the battle. Ilara returned to the crystal pillar. Alone in the chamber, she placed her hand against it once more. The light flowed across her palm and a vision filled her mind. She saw the first builders, vast and radiant, creating wonders across the galaxy. She saw them building machines, planting knowledge, and fighting a terrible enemy. Then she saw their fall, their cities destroyed, their fleets burned. The vision ended with a single word, repeated over and over in her mind. Awaken. The meaning was clear. The machine waited for a command. Only a human could give it. And that command would decide everything. Alara knew what this meant. Whoever gave that command would hold the fate of the galaxy in their hands. Growing danger, Alara gathered her team. They tried to take us, she said quietly. They tried to force control. And they will try again. We cannot trust the coalition anymore. They see us as keys, not as allies, Dr. Malik frowned. They will come back stronger. If they think we have the power, they will fight for it. Yes, Alara agreed. And we must be ready. The moment will come when the machine will ask for the order. We must be ready to answer. The humans knew that their position was dangerous. They were fewer in number, surrounded by enemies who once called themselves friends. But they also knew something others did not. They had been chosen, and the machine had given them a warning. Ilara whispered to her team, if we give the wrong answer, we will doom ourselves in the galaxy. The choice ahead outside the dome. The coalition gathered in anger and fear. The Avrians argued for peace. The Prescians planned another assault. The Thren studied the humans in silence, their thoughts unreadable. Inside the crystal chamber, Ilara stood before the glowing pillar. The map of the galaxy shone bright around her. Somewhere in the distance, a single star pulsed. It was a call, a choice. The machine was waiting, and humanity's moment had come. Ilara knew what she must do. But she also knew that the choice would not belong to her alone. When the time came, every human would share the burden of command, and the galaxy would never be the same. The air on the dead world was electric. It was no longer still and silent. The great machine had stirred. Its hum now pulsed through the ground like the heartbeat of a living thing. Every surface glowed faintly, and deep chambers below thrummed with unseen energy. Above the vast crystal dome where the humans worked, alien fleets gathered in the skies. Ships of every design, colors, and sizes moved in silent formation. They were watching, waiting. Some with fear, some with hope, and others with greed. At the center of it all stood Commander Alara Trent. She had not slept in days. The weight of the galaxy seemed to rest upon her shoulders. The calm. Before the storm, inside. The crystal chamber, humans worked quietly. They had sealed the doors to prevent another attack. Outside, the sounds of alien negotiations and movements reached them faintly, through the thick walls of the machine. Dr. Malik studied the glowing pillar. "The more we touch it, the more it calls," he said. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "It is asking for something." "A command," Alara nodded. "I know, but what will happen when we give it? We've seen fragments of its purpose. It is more than a machine, it is a legacy. And perhaps a weapon, perhaps a shield. But a choice is not something we can take lightly." Lieutenant Harris leaned against a wall, watching the flickering lights. "The aliens will not wait forever," he said. "They will try again, and they will be ready to destroy us if they fail." Alara's eyes narrowed. "That is exactly why we must decide. The moment is coming." The fractured coalition outside the chamber, the coalition had broken apart. The Avrians called for a council. "We cannot fight each other while the machine wakes," Selra said softly. "This is bigger than any of us. We must respect humanity's role." The Hressians rejected her words. General Korak prepared his fleet for battle. "If the humans awaken it without us, the galaxy will belong to them. That cannot stand. We will take it, whatever it costs." The Thren watched silently. Their eyes glowed faintly under their hooded faces. They whispered to themselves, unsure whether to join the attack or use deception to gain the prize. The dead planet had become the center of an unfolding war. And the humans were the spark. The call of the machine inside the crystal chamber, the glowing pillar pulsed brighter than ever. Light spread across the walls, forming a map of stars. At the center of the map was a single star, glowing steady and strong. It pulsed like a living heart. When Alara placed her hand on the pillar, the voice returned in her mind, deep, slow, and resonant. "The first are awake. The time has come. Will you awaken the Guardians?" The words echoed through her thoughts. Alara closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She felt the weight of the choice in her bones. The Guardians, what were they? Weapons, protectors, and awakening them. Would it save the galaxy or destroy it? Dr. Malik stepped beside her. "They will not wait for us to decide forever," he said quietly. "They are already moving. If we hesitate, it may be too late." Alara opened her eyes. "Then we decide now." The final betrayal. Before she could speak again, alarms rang through the chamber. Outside, the sound of ships moving into attack positions echoed across the ground. The doors to the chamber shook. General Korak and his soldiers stormed the hall again, this time with more force. Thren scientists followed, their strange devices glowing as they prepared to seize the pillar. "We will take control," Korak roared. "The humans will obey us." Alara stepped forward. "No, this is not yours to command," she shouted. "This belongs to humanity and to the galaxy. We decide together, not under your orders." The Hressians advanced, but the machine intervened again. Energy walls formed instantly, cutting the attackers off. The lights flared, and the sound of the machine's voice filled the chamber. Not in words this time, but in a deep vibration felt in every bone. It was as if the machine itself was speaking to them all, warning them that the time for war was ending. The human Order Alara stepped to the center of the chamber. Her hand rose and pressed firmly on the glowing pillar. The light spread up her arm, filling the room with a blinding glow. The voice came again, softer now. "Will you give the order?" She knew what she must say. This was the moment humanity had been called to. The moment the first builders had waited for across endless centuries. She took a breath and said clearly, "Awaken." The word echoed. The pillar flared brighter than the sun. Light spread across the entire dead world. The stone cracked and opened, revealing structures buried for millennia. The ground shook, and a sound like the singing of stars filled the air. From beneath the planet, the machine rose. It unfolded like a vast living city of shining light. Towers and wings extended into the air. Engines roared to life. Across its surface, the carvings glowed with a language older than time itself. The dead world was no longer dead. It was alive, a new dawn outside. Alien fleet stopped. Silence fell across the battlefield. The great machine had risen, and with it, something larger awoke in the galaxy. Light spread from the machine to the stars. Ancient pathways lit up, stretching across space. The Avrians watched in awe. Even the Hressians paused. The Thren lowered their heads, whispering quietly. Elara stood before her team, her hand still on the pillar. The machine pulsed with life. Around them, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. "We did it," Dr. Malik said softly. "We awakened it." Elara nodded, but she did not speak. Her mind was on the voice, still echoing in her thoughts. The first have awakened. The Guardians rise. The war returns. The humans had given the order. They had accepted the burden. But the galaxy had changed forever. The legacy of humanity. The coalition now faced a new truth. Humanity was not just another race. They were the heirs of the first builders. They had awakened the greatest power in the galaxy, and they had the choice to wield it wisely or let it consume them. Commander Elara looked out over the rising light of the machine. Somewhere in the dark spaces beyond the galaxy, something ancient and terrible might still be waiting. But humanity had stepped forward. They had accepted the call. The galaxy would never be the same again. And for the first time in history, humanity stood ready to lead.